I am Doris Muta. I'm a senior program officer at the African Forest Forum, and today we have just begun a workshop for the youth, engagement in forestry for sustainable forestry, and also to engage in livelihood activities that the youth can engage in. This is an Africa project, but today this workshop is part of a pilot activity that is focused only in Kenya. But generally, the outcome of this workshop will be used to contribute to an Africa-wide initiative on youth for foresting in Africa. And the reason we are engaging in our youth in forestry is because Africa has a really rich forest. We have a lot of forest. We cover up to 636 million hectares of forest in Africa, which comprises of about 20% of our continental landmass in Africa. And it also represents about 16% of the whole forest cover in the world. So it's a really important natural asset that Africa has that is so critical, because first of the biodiversity, it is very rich in biodiversity. Out of the 8.7 million species of plants and animals, flora and fauna, about 25% are found in Africa. So all the biodiversity that is in the whole world, 25% of the biodiversity found in Africa and in African forests. So this is a critical area, and also based on that, we have diverse forest types. We have the mangrove forests, which are found in both sides of the African continent, in the eastern side, the western Indian Ocean side, as well as in the north of Africa, which form a very critical part in supporting the blue economy initiatives in the African continent. Mangroves are useful in providing ecosystem services for fisheries, because different kinds of fish use the mangroves as their nursery for the younglings of the fish, and therefore support the production of the fish that form livelihoods of the coastal peoples in Africa, where that are living around the ocean areas. So apart from that, they also capture carbon, the blue carbon, comprised mainly from the land-based resources among the mangroves and also other coastal forests. So the other forest types we have are the rainforests. For example, the rainforest of the Congo Basin is the second largest rainforest in Africa that is critical carbon through the huge area that it holds, and also in providing a lot of goods and services. Many timber species are found in the Congo Basin forest, and these timber are used to support the national economies, and not only for the countries within the Congo Basin, but also beyond. They do get across even to Eastern Africa. We have some of the timber that come into Kenya, into Tanzania, and also into Uganda. From which now many governments are generating revenue through the trade of the timber. And the timber also goes beyond Africa to the Asian countries mostly, and they are traded. Particularly, China is a great market for our timber products in Africa. The other forests are the Miombo woodlands, the Mopane woodlands, which are important areas for biodiversity conservation. We find that many of the countries in Southern Africa where these woodlands are provide habitat for the wildlife, the lions, the elephants, even the wild dogs, and these comprise an important source of revenue through tourism, which in many countries in Africa where these wildlife are found are important foreign exchange earner. So it's a really key contribution to the economies of these countries. The other forest type are the Sahel parklands, which are in the northern part of Africa, where we have many supporting silver pastoral ecosystems where people are relying on the pasture land for the livestock and supporting their livelihoods. So all these forest types are key, and also we have them as important biodiversity hotspots. For example, the montane forests in Eastern Africa have been found to be very, very important as a host for endemic species. Some of the endemic species include, for example, the St. Paulina tahitensis, which is the African violet, which has been used to generate a lot of varieties, up to 4,000 varieties. And they are now all over the world contributing to the global trade on garden plants. Also within the montane forest we have in Ethiopia, there have been sources of varieties of species that are crop varieties. For example, Coffea arabica was first identified and harnessed by the Ethiopian farmers who live in those areas, montane areas. And today you can find coffee. Many varieties have been developed, and you can find coffee now. You can take your coffee in Starbucks, in Java, and all that. So you can see how these forests are so critical in supporting the livelihoods of the people. In fact, a study that had been done on the role of forests and tree-based ecosystems to livelihoods revealed that 21% of the livelihoods, households' income in those people living around the forest relies on forest and tree-based products. So it's a really critical, and in a survey that was done around the forests of Africa, it was found that about 250 million of people in Africa live within 5 kilometers of this forest. So they are a source of livelihoods, and they support also local as well as national economies. So it is critical at this point that where we are facing serious challenges of deforestation and land degradation, forest degradation and land degradation, which is, we have made many efforts over the years, but we still not yet arrived to where we need to do, because the task is very huge. It needs many interventions, and it needs all stakeholders. And for this workshop, we are looking at what role the youth could play in supporting initiatives that can help address deforestation and forest degradation impact on our economies and also on our livelihoods. So we have brought together these youth this week from today until Wednesday to discuss with them. First of all, we envisage that we as the professionals, we are scientists in forestry. We've been here for quite some time now. We believe we know many things about forestry and science and what needs to be done, like issues of climate change that are really at the top of our discussions this week in COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. And we feel it's an opportunity to engage them and discuss with them, tell them what we know. And also we want to find out from them, to hear from them about their engagement in forestry. So far, we have been imagining that they are not engaged, they are not interested in forestry. And for this, we have identified through our training in training colleges, training curricula in forestry, many youth are not interested in joining the forestry profession. That's what we have seen. And we feel that this is a resource. There are about 420 million youth right now in the continent, and we need to engage them in supporting forestry, because when our time is out, these are the people who will be in charge of the resources. And it's a process we are trying to do the succession. when we are out of the space, will they be ready to take on the mantle of managing forests sustainably, increasing benefits from forests,